Hi, this is Paul Hoyt, your host. I'm here with my buddy and business partner, Shane McKenna, to bring you another daily update on the Ascending Harvest Project and to share a little bit of business wisdom and business advice too. We want to not only bring you up to speed on where we are on our project, we also want to share something of value with you every single day. And since we're both have been around the block a few times, and have lots and lots of experience. We have lots of value that we can share with you. I know that I can do about 150 of these on my own, but why do that when I got my buddy Shane? So let me introduce Shane. He's the genius, the inventor, and the founder of Ascending Harvest, and the inspiration behind our entire company. Say hello, Shane.
Hello, everyone. If you see me moving in my chair, that's because I'm in my office chair and it rocks. So I'll try not to do that so that I don't make anybody seasick. But right now I am sharing this link live on a couple of different pages that we belong to. So if you will excuse me for just a minute, maybe Paul can come up with something brilliant to say. Not maybe, I'm sure he will. And let me get these links shared.
All right, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm sharing this to my personal timeline so that people can, hang on, share on a page you manage. Hang on, I'll do that when I get Shane talking here in a second. So we want to do a few things here on the call today. Number one is to bring you up to speed on the status of Ascending Harvest. We've been doing these daily little webcast here. I call them Zoomcasts because we're using Zoom technology in the background to bring you up to speed on the project. So if you haven't seen number one or episode number one, I encourage you to watch that. We talked at length about what the project is and the why. But for those of you who may be tuning in for the first time, Ascending Harvest is a new company designed to bring disruptive technology to families in developing countries and refugee camps to allow them to grow their own food. Shane has invented a system called human-powered hydroponics, which leverages the advantages of hydroponics and allows it to be taken advantage of by people who have very poor soil, if no soil, very little water, and no electricity. That's the key, is it's no electricity, and it's very inexpensive. We anticipate getting hundreds of thousands of dollars in grants from agencies that provide services and provide charitable relief to the people we want to help to put these systems in the hands of a lot of people. We'd love to put 10,000 of these systems in people's hands within the next 6 to 9 months or so. So that's who we are and what we're doing. We try to start each call with a little bit of a progress update. I know I've got something. Shane, do you have any updates for us today before I jump into mine?
Yeah, I went to a farmer's market yesterday and spent some time with people just talking about what we're doing. And the reception was very warm. And one of the folks I met with is a charter high school here in Utah that teaches farming. So I'm going to be talking to them at length about incorporating our system into their teaching program.
Oh, wow. That's really great. I like that. I really think everybody ought to know how to have a garden and how to grow food, because it really is quite rewarding to see the little sprouts come up and to see the blossoms and then see them turn into little buds of fruit. And then a few weeks later, it turns out to be something you can pluck and harvest and use in a salad somewhere, which is really helpful. To us, it's a really nice thing to have and a very empowering, uplifting experience. To people who have food insecurity, who have very poor nutrition, it can mean the difference between a life well lived and one, just focused on survival at all times. So that's why we're really very interested in doing this company, doing this project, and helping people as we can.
I read a statistic today of a study that was done with sugarcane farmers.
Mm-hmm.
And sugarcane farmers are interesting to study economically because they get paid once a year at the harvest. And so they spend part of their year being quite abundant, and then they spend part of their year being quite poor. And so this study was based around the intelligent quotient of those two different time frames. And interestingly, when they were in their survival mode, when they tested IQs of sugarcane farmers in survival mode compared to their abundance time frame, there was a 12-point difference in their IQ scores.
Wow.
It just goes to show how difficult it is to think when you are in survival mode.
I think I'm going to check that article out too. I think I remember seeing a link to that or some sort of a Facebook post that lists that particular article. Yeah, they have a tendency to make poorer decisions. You have a tendency to, just not function nearly as well when you're hungry and when you're thirsty and in survival mode. So let's see what we can't do to uplift the entire world and the consciousness and the spirit of the entire world by helping those out who really need it the most.
Yeah, absolutely.
Today, as I mentioned in the intro, we really want to bring something of value to you every single day, a little bit of business wisdom or perhaps even some inspirational insights or something. But today we're going to focus on business wisdom. We want to talk a few minutes about the process of designing, building, and bringing a new product to market. I remember vividly about 7 or 8 years ago, I was out on a consulting engagement, and my clients happened to be rocket scientists. I mean, really rocket scientists, having worked years at JPL Laboratories. They were now off on a new venture, and we got into a conversation about where they were in the process. And they said, bringing a product to market on a mass scale is really a 5-step process. Step number 1 is concept, where you have the idea, you write it down. Step number 2 is prototypes, which you may go through multiple versions of. Step number 3 was low volume manufacturing, where you're just getting it out there, in sufficient numbers to begin to be efficient in the manufacturing process. Step number 4 was high volume manufacturing, and step 5 was mass scale. They said mass scale was typically multiple high volume manufacturing plants or production lines. So I have in that brief 1 minute told you everything I know about the process. And I'm going to let Shane talk to you about the process because he's done it dozens and dozens of times, and of course is leading the charge for bringing the Ascending Harvest products to market too. So Shane, was I right on? Was he right on? Do you agree with that? And how does that relate to us?
Yeah, the product development process is tenacious. There are thousands of things that need to be considered, and you need to get most of those right. It's a very, very arduous process, which is why it is a specialty. Now, I've been involved in product development, and I've been a key player in putting somewhere north of over 100 products on the shelf.
Wow.
The role that I have typically played is early in my career was the manufacturing side, the engineering and developing the manufacturing processes and working with the manufacturing equipment that produces components and products. In the last half of my career, I've been focused on actually inventing or designing the products and then taking them all the way through the process. And so I work with a lot of startups, I've worked with a lot of inventors, and I've worked with companies that are rolling out new products. The process of that idea to completion and having it on the shelf, like I said, is not only lengthy, but it's extremely complicated. Every component is analyzed for functionality, cost, availability, every single component. And when you have designs that have many components in them, then it just amplifies that process. Finding the right manufacturers, finding making sure that you design the right materials. I once worked on a project that in order for the project to be successful, a bearing factory would have to be built because the bearings that had been spec'd into the design, the amount of bearings in the system exceeded the world supply of those bearings.
Oh my goodness.
And so the answer was, well, if we're going to use those bearings, we have to build a bearing factory. Now that was ridiculous in the extreme, but that's what can happen. That's what happens when people do not do the proper research during that development phase. I worked on another project that the owner of the company did not validate the supply line. And the supplier that they had been using could not support the sales that they created, and it actually collapsed the company because there was not enough manufacturing capacity to produce their product. So every single thing, the materials, how they're going to be manufactured, who's going to manufacture them, and the capacity of the manufacturer all go into play. And those are all things that we have considered in great detail with everything that goes into our humanitarian product.
Shane, that is really fantastic. I love to hear that. You know, between the two of us, I think we've got a lot of incredible experience to bring to this particular program. You brought 100 products or more to market. I've worked with hundreds of businesses. I have 20 years of manufacturing experience as well, you know, working at a lot of different manufacturing plants. So we understand capacity requirements, planning and production control and master scheduling and, you know, all of those different aspects of actually making this work once we get the product designed and you know, into the manufacturing process. Shane, and tell the people who are listening where we are right now in the development of the human-powered hydroponic systems.
Yeah, so that's any product development is a long process, and especially when it's new technology. And in this particular case, one of the challenges of our technology is to test it, we have to have a growing season. And you might see fantastic results with the growth of a plant in the early stage of growth, and then watch the returns or the growth from the midterm of that plant up until the production of that particular plant may not be as good. Or vice versa, you might not get a great beginning, but then it catches steam and starts to have better results as you go along. So our testing, our R&D is not a quick cycle. We can't just set it up on the test bench and spend a few days and go, oh, this is working great. No, we have to take a long time in our testing. And I invented Intelligent Grow Media 4 years ago. And there's been many iterations and testing cycles in developing those materials and how we combine those materials and how we are going to manufacture those materials so that it's cost effective. And each year I have an opportunity during our Utah growing season to take the latest and greatest and put that through a prototyping cycle and see what kind of results we get. So where we're at is this year I built the smallest system I've ever built. I wanted to see what we could accomplish with the minimum amount of material and space utilization. So I built a 5-gallon system. And here's what I mean about the testing is so important and why it takes a long period of time. We planted a tomato in that system, and initially it outperformed tomatoes that were being grown in the ground. It was looking great. It was growing taller. It had more foliage. As fruit started to come onto the plant, we started to recognize the limitations of that 5-gallon system. And the limitations is that there just wasn't enough root mass to pull up the nutrition to really allow that plant to fruit to the capacity that we would like to see. So that's valuable information. We now know that we simply can't use a 5-gallon system for tomatoes and achieve the kind of production level that's going to be effective for someone who's in a developing country who's depending on that for a food and income source.
Wow, that's very interesting. Well, and as we raise money in our upcoming crowdfunding campaign, hopefully we'll be able to do lots of prototypes, in simulated environments, maybe with some friends of ours in Arizona. Here in California, we definitely have a longer growing season than you do in Utah. But with sufficient funding, we should be able to build multiple prototypes and put them in a lot of different environments. And so we don't have to wait for the 2 or 3 month growing season that you have in Utah. It's a little longer than that, isn't it?
It is. And what we intend to do is we hope to get enough funding that we can go right into tooling and manufacturing. Let me talk about that a little bit.
Yeah.
I have designed our system so that it only uses one custom component that has to be injection molded and one custom component that has to be assembled, and that is our pump. Our pump has to be injection molded and assembled, and we're using a pump that I invented that works off of the air that is pumped into the system, and that pump converts that air into water transportation or circulation in the system. And because of patent issues, I can't talk about that right now, about how exactly that pump works, but we use the air to pump the water. Anyway, that's our only custom manufactured component. The rest of the components I've been able to source off the shelf. And one of the questions that people frequently ask me is, Shane, why are you guys using 5-gallon buckets? Why are you using these pre-molded buckets that are intended for commercial use? And the answer is those manufacturers already have the tooling and they already produce those items in the hundreds of thousands and even the millions. When you look at the suppliers of these containers, they have the capacity to produce 1 million containers a month. For us to start with our own custom container, we would have to spend over $100,000 in just tooling and the production cycle of those containers specific to us. And a lot of people don't understand that the consumer products, those products that are readily available on the shelves of your big box stores, those products, those companies won't even enter into producing those products if they're not able to produce at least 10,000 a month. They won't even start the cycle of producing those products if they're not at that level of production, because they know you have to have a huge quantity in order to get your costs down to compete in the marketplace.
Yeah. Yeah, well said. In my work as a business consultant, I developed a concept called a business complexity profile. The business complexity profile takes a look at various business models and determines what their likelihood of success is based on just the complexity of the business. For example, it's far more difficult to create a hospital than it is to create a lemonade stand. I mean, that's an extreme example. But, consumer products, bringing commercial consumer manufactured products to market is very, very close to the top of that list because of the intellectual property issues, because of all of the legal issues, because of the issues with manufacturing and going through the process that we've described today. So this is a very complex business, even with a simple product that we're bringing together. But with Shane's dozens of years of experience and my experience, we feel very, very confident to the point of certainty that we'll be able to bring this to market in a very reasonable time frame, at a very reasonable cost. So I thank you very much, Shane. I really appreciate you talking about that. Hopefully that gives our listeners and viewers a little bit of more confidence in our ability to actually do what we say that we're going to do, to actually walk the talk, because we have been around that block a few times.
Yeah, it is an arduous process, but we are well equipped for that.
Yeah.
And I would just add that the design of the system has been pared down to only the essential elements for this humanitarian product, including developing new manufacturing processes that allow us to take these off-the-shelf components and convert them with great ease, and reducing the amount of components in the system. I think what people are going to discover as these start to roll out, there is going to be a very high level of success of people growing food out of these systems, because there literally isn't anything to break down. And that is all part of that design. We are ensuring those people's success who are users by creating a system that, in the way that it's manufactured, the components that are chosen and selected to go in it, and the conversion process is done in such a way that failure really comes down to somebody not following the simple instruction set.
That is way cool. I just love to hear Shane talk about this project because of the genius that he brings to it and the years and years of experience. We have big plans for the future. Once we start delivering these products in mass, we hope to build the capability to have them at least assembled or partially manufactured in country, so that we can create jobs and have education and training, service components to it, so we can teach people the art and science of growing their own food, instead of just, letting them wing it, just to teach them the nuances that will help them increase their enjoyment and increase their results from the systems that we put in their hands. So it's big plans coming up that we will keep you informed of in future video casts.
Yes. Are we going to give away a system today, Paul?
We are. There's a couple of things that we really want people to do to help us move this project forward. The biggest thing you can do is just share news of the products. We're in the phase now for building brand awareness. If you got value from this, if you're interested in seeing how Ascending Harvest is going to revolutionize the way that people grow food around the world, please share this with your family and your friends and your social media networks, so that we can spread the word. We know that if we get enough people to take a look at this project, that our crowdfunding campaigns are almost certain to be successful, and we're very excited about that. So go to ascendingharvest.com, just spelled just exactly like it sounds, ascendingharvest.com. Sign up for our list, and when you do, we'll enter you into the opportunity to win some prizes, and the prizes that we're giving away here in the early stages are one of our systems. So we've had 2 winners so far, and we're going to draw a 3rd winner here in just a few seconds. And if you want to be eligible to win one of these systems for yourself, please go to ascendingharvest.com and sign up, and we'll put you into the list. Every day I draw out a list of people from our back-end system who have signed up to be on our list, and we assign them all a random number, and I invite my friend Shane to generate his own random number that goes against my random number that goes against the random order of the list as it's drawn down. So there, there's no, there's no chance of this being rigged in any particular way. And we're going to see who wins one of our human-powered hydroponic systems for today. So, Shane, in between 1 and 10,000, what's your random number?
Okay, generate. Here we go. I don't know if you can see that. 8483.
8483?
Yep. So
put that into my magic spreadsheet. And the number that is closest to that, and it was very close. One person was only 39 away, and the other person was 42 away. Person who was 39 away is Emily Dyer. So Emily Dyer, congratulations. You are the winner of a human-powered hydroponic system. I'll send you out an email here in a little bit. We will tag you on this post. And when we bring these systems to market, which we expect to be in Q1 of 2019, we will either send you a system or give you the opportunity to donate a system in your name to a needy family, somewhere in the world. So thanks a lot for signing up for our list, and congratulations on winning this prize. In weeks to come, by the way, days to come, weeks to come, as we get closer to running this campaign, we're going to give away some really fantastic prizes. We have sponsors that have donated, up to $40,000 worth of prizes that we're going to be giving away, here in the next couple of weeks or so. And for those of you who have won a prize in these first few weeks, we're going to enter your name back into the hat when it comes to giving away the really big prizes.
Awesome.
Yep.
Thank you, everybody.
Yeah, thanks for joining us. Go to ascendingharvest.com, sign up for our list. Tune into these video casts, these Zoom casts every single day. We'll bring you up to speed on the status of the project and what we've been doing. And we'll offer another little bit of business wisdom for you that may be helpful in your own businesses. Someday you never know when that knowledge will pay off. So thanks so much for tuning in. Thanks to my co-host here, Shane McKenna. And we'll see you tomorrow on our live video cast in the Facebook page of Ascending Harvest, where we live stream this every single day. Thanks so much for joining us. We'll see you tomorrow.
Thank you. Bye-bye.